All right, we are back. It is the New York Giants Squad Show. My name is Jay Berman. No rest for the weary this week. We are not alone.
I'm Patricia Trainer, Locked on Giants. And if the Giants fall to the Eagles on Thursday night, will there be winds of change sweeping through East Rutherford?
I'm Mark Collins, two-time Super Bowl champion. Well, that bubble bursted quickly, didn't it?
Let's go, Big Blue. It's the New York Giants squad. Everything New York Giants every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the G-Men. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. The Giants Squad Show starts now.
All right, let's do it. A short work week for all of us. Of course, the short turnaround means the Eagles on Thursday night. Before we get there, Patricia, Mark, and myself still need to get over the New Orleans loss. Patricia, we'll start with you. Obviously, that was a bad day.
Wow. That's all I could say. I mean, just when you think the Giants can't come up with a new way to lose a game, 5 turnovers in a row, and we don't even count the last drive in which they gave the ball up on downs. So technically 6 turnovers. Just every time they go down to New Orleans, I don't know what it is. Something funky happens, and it's just so frustrating. And that was a really bad loss.
Yeah, Mark. Patricia mentioned it, sort of a house of horrors, and you even suggested some voodoo there. It is not a fun place for the Giants to play, and that was on full display on Sunday.
Yeah, Patricia, you were right on. I mean, I told you earlier, the voodoo, you called it, and it was horrible. It was so bad. You know, remember the golf analogy I made last week about, you get a birdie on one hole, and then you get a bogey on another hole, and you really blow it up? That's what the Giants just did. They had a great win against the Chargers. Great win. Everyone's talking about. They made national press. And they laid an egg down there in New Orleans. It was so bad. And just set themselves back a good 2 steps backwards.
Yeah, and obviously the turnovers, the miscues were a problem. 5 consecutive possessions. Not much for Brian Dable to say at that point. But Patricia, obviously with such a short work week, lots of pressure to get things right, because we can't have another 5 turnover game.
No, definitely not. And especially against an Eagles team, which, as much as I hate to say it, has owned the Giants of recent days. So, not a whole lot of time to let the loss sit and fester, which I guess is a good thing. But also the disadvantage of a short work week is you can't really get in a true practice. You're doing walkthroughs at this point because, the quick turnaround. So we'll see if the Giants bounce back. But I got to think that loss was very deflating for the players, especially coming off the Chargers win.
Yeah. Mark, what kind of week do you think or at least a couple of days it's been for Jackson Dart? Obviously, he's going to play. He's healthy. The hamstring's not going to be an issue. But that was a poorly played game that he needs to bounce right back from.
Yeah, of course, he's self-reflecting. It was awful. We all agree on that. But he has no choice. The whole team's got to bounce back. You're going from the frying pan to the fire playing the Eagles. And they got to do something. They got to bounce back. That locker room, they're down in the dumps, no doubt about it. But they can't hold on to that loss too long because you got Philadelphia coming up next. And Phillies, they're mad. And as Patricia said, of late, last few years, 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, that the Eagles have owned the Giants. So in their eyes, what's different? After seeing the Giants lose the way they lost against the Saints, they're expecting the same.
Patricia, it was interesting because we got on Dart and we got on Scatterbo for the fumbles, but then we sort of stopped and realized that they're rookies, so their mistakes are going to happen. The fumble for Slayton, a little bit different, and obviously he's hurt. We're not sure if he's going to play, but again, there's rookies and there's veterans both making mistakes, so we kind of handle it differently, if you will.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that to an extent because you're talking fundamentals. I mean, how hard is it to learn to hold the ball high and tight when you're running with it? That's a fundamental I think they teach you at Pee Wee level. So, a mistake to me would be Jackson Dart throwing to the wrong receiver, trying to fit a ball into a tight window that maybe he misjudged. So, yeah, I mean, your point, though, about Slayton, I mean, that was probably his worst game ever as a Giant. I mean, I can't remember him having such a bad game. And, the hamstring, I don't know how much that factored into it. I mean, at the time, he didn't have the hamstring. So, look, they say everybody has a bad day at the office. It just seemed like all the Giants, or most of the Giants, had their bad day come all up in once.
Yeah, and specifically with Darius Slayton, Mark, I know that we had spoken off air about the kind of game he needed to play with no neighbors, and he did not step up.
No, he did not. And I don't want to trash the young man, but every player wants to be the man, right? They want to be the number one, WR1 or CV1 or QB. Everybody wants that moniker. But when it's presented to you because of injury, you're now you got to show up. And obviously he did not show up. You make a mistake by fumbling. First, you drop a ball, and then you compound it by fumbling. And then as I'm watching the game and the cameras are panning on the sideline, he went in the tank. And every player, the older players went to him. Jameis Winston went to him. They try to pump him up. I saw he wasn't feeling it. He was like down in the dumps. Felt bad for him, but that you're in this game. You want to be the person to get things done. You got to step up and get it done. You got to own what you did wrong and right, and try to rectify it. That game, it did not look like he was in it for the rest of the game.
What's interesting now is that we have receiver problems, Patricia. So let's just assume he can't play. Who's coming up?
They're going to have to bring up little Jordan Humphrey. I mean, which they should have done, quite honestly, last week.
Right.
Why they did not, I have no idea. I mean, you're down one receiver as it is. And Brian Dable, his answer to that question was, well, we were leaning into the tight ends who we consider receivers. Well, now you have matchup issues, like the Saints, they were in their base defense a lot. So, when you're playing 12 personnel, usually that works better against, the nickel defense and the sub packages, not against the base. So it just really a head scratching decision by the Giants not to elevate a receiver. I don't know if that had to do with the fact that they don't have cap space right now or what the thinking was, but it was definitely a head scratcher and one that they cannot repeat this week.
Yeah, obviously the receiving core is in big trouble. So we would expect someone like little Jordan Humphrey to come back up, who actually looked pretty good in a couple of spots in the preseason. But Mark, again, even with him there, that's a receiving core that is lackluster.
Oh yeah, there's no one on that receiving core that scares any defensive back in the National Football League. None, not one of them. So what do? You got to play the cards that's dealt to you. So Jackson Dart and the Giants got to play with who they have. Can they still win? Yes. They can still win with what they have, but they got to be very precise in what they do. You got to run the ball effectively. You got to play sound defense, of course. And the receivers got to catch the ball when it's thrown to them. That is simple. And it sounds simple and it is simple. They just got to flip and do it.
Yeah, we talked about last week and the at least the thought process of Cam Skattebo possibly being the number one, and he obviously was. The question now is whether he's actually a one. But that being said, Brian Dable, quote, optimistic that Tyrone Tracy will be able to make his return Thursday night. Patricia, that would help big time.
Sure, it would. I mean, anytime you can add a playmaking player to the field, absolutely it's going to help. And it takes some of the onus off of the rookie, not saying that Cam Skattebo can't handle it at this level, but sometimes when you get pushed into a bigger role than maybe what you're ready for at that particular juncture in the season, sometimes that can work against you. And, Cam Skattebo going to have a long, fine career in the NFL, but, still he's a rookie.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Mark, on getting Tracy back? That should obviously help.
Oh, sure. If you can alleviate some of the rookie reps from Skattebo, that's always a help for the team. Skattebo, I tend to think he's the number one. Now, as Patricia said, I'm not putting words in her mouth. Can he handle that load for the whole season? That's to be seen. It won't happen now. But I think he is a number one running back, and the Giants just got to figure out who they want, what back fits their offense to move the ball effectively. Which one gives that the greatest opportunity?
All right, we saw it early against the Saints, and that was the, I guess, reintroduction, if you will, of the tight ends, Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger, showing up and actually getting some quality time, if you will. That being said, how important are the tight ends moving forward? We need to see a lot more of them, Patricia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been screaming for that for the longest time. I mean, the Giants were one of the teams that used their tight ends, especially in the red zone, the least. I think they were 32nd, if I'm not mistaken. And I can't understand why, because, you got these big guys, they can catch the ball, they can present a nice little mismatch size-wise. Why wouldn't you use them down in the red zone? And when they did that, I was like, finally, somebody heard me, finally. So, and it paid off for them. They got 2 touchdowns. Their 2 touchdowns came to tight ends. And again, you have the mismatches, and those tight ends, Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, they can use their big bodies to shield the ball away from the smaller defenders. And I just don't see why the Giants have been reluctant in past games to not use them a bit more. Maybe that has to do with Malik Neighbors. I don't know. But, I was glad to see that they did that.
Yeah, Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, they're going to have to now. I mean, because, you got big bodies in there. They're big power forwards. They just box you out and catch the ball. But to utilize them more of this game or for the rest of the season until the Giants get some kind of notable receivers on the outside who can catch the ball deep or over the middle, you're going to have to utilize the middle of the field and try to isolate some kind of one-on-one on the outside.
All right, Brian Dable says he feels good about Jermaine Illuminor being able to play versus the Eagles. Obviously, the same good feels are not with Slayton, but we did see Illuminor, I guess for wrong reasons, if you will, on Sunday against the Saints. But Patricia, I guess it's better to have the starter in than not.
Well, yeah, I mean, for a couple of reasons. First off, on those penalties, I thought some of those penalties against Illuminor were a bit iffy. I mean, if you're going to call him on that, I mean, you better call him on everybody for what it's worth. I mean, just my uneducated opinion here. But, the other situation is, if you're without Illuminor, now you plug in the rookie, okay? You plug in Marcus Bowe, who can handle it, but now who's behind him, especially if you're going to sit Evan Neal or you're not going to dress Evan Neal? I mean, who's your backup tackle if you don't have Illuminor in there and you have to put the rookie in? So that's why it's good to have Illuminor in there if he can go. Now, will he be effective? That remains to be seen. Back injuries can be very tricky. One day you're feeling great. The next day you're not feeling so great. So fingers crossed that he can go.
We've seen tons of penalties, obviously the Dallas game. We've seen tons of turnovers, obviously the New Orleans game. You can't do either of those things, Mark, against the Eagles. Even coming off a loss, you got to get right. This needs to be a game where these things don't happen, turnovers and miscues and penalties and such.
Yeah, the penalties that's all on the players. That's something they got to control. And during the Saints game, the pass interference calls were just so high school stuff. Like, why? And when you're leading, who was it? Is it Phillips who's leading the NFL in PIs or something like that? That's unacceptable. You can't have that. Those penalties, they're not good enough to overcome penalties nor turnovers to be a great team, even a good team. But they got to cut that stuff out. It's really embarrassing, and it's a bad look on the team and on the players who commit them.
What's interesting is we got off to a great start, Jackson Dart-wise, first 2 possessions. Giants hadn't scored 2 touchdowns in the first 2 possessions in forever. So we got off to a good start, which we needed on the road, and they still kind of fell apart. Patricia, that being said, the start here against the Eagles is huge. Very important to not put yourself behind the 8 ball early.
Yeah, one of the things that I've kind of been screaming about, and who knows, maybe this will be the week they finally listen to me on this again, is you got a rookie quarterback, you've got who's chomping at the bit there. If you win the coin toss, put your offense out there first. What's with this, deferring stuff? I mean, I get the thinking behind it, but you just got your butts beat, last week. get out there, get off to a fast start, get your crowd into the game. It's the same argument I made last week about taking the Saints crowd out of the game. Well, get your home crowd into the game. Get out there, get off to a fast start, which Jackson Dart has shown he can do, and see if you can't get some momentum on your side early on that you can ride at least through most of the game.
Mark, thoughts on a fast start?
I think it could go either or. And I'll reflect back when I played. We were known, there was no doubt if we'd have won the toss or lost or whatever, if we won the toss, the defense was going to start. We want to set the tone. But that was us. We were dominating back then. This Giants team, I agree with you, Patricia. If the Giants win the toss, they should put the offense out there because that, to me, seems the more logical thing to do. You want to get the offense and Jackson Dart off to a good start, good with the tempo. They score on a good drive, get the crowd into it, great. If not, then you got to rely on the defense to get them out of the hole. But I agree with you 100%. If the Giants win the toss, get the offense out there, get the crowd into it.
All right, our first break is upon us. We have picked apart the offense. We'll do that with the defense, which obviously struggled last week as well. All right, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks lately. It's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football. I love checking projections like Josh Allen for more than less than 270 passing yards or Saquon Barkley for more or less than 1 rushing score. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, good to be right. All right, let's focus in on the defense. It's Patricia, it's Mark, it's Jay. Obviously, the 0 sacks, Patricia, were a huge part of this, something we probably didn't expect. But again, no sacks against the Saints.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they were getting pressure. They had pressure, but 1 quarterback hit and no sacks. And, look, I hate to keep picking on Shane Bowen because he's a nice man, but you look at how he deploys the outside linebackers, and it always seems that there's at least one that's playing out of position on every snap. And I don't know that he has quite figured out the best way to deploy all 3 of them. But that also being said, guys were getting swallowed up on their blocks. This is a problem that's been going on now for the longest time with this team. You've got to get off your block, and you've got to, push the pocket, cause a disruption, make it so that somebody else can maybe slide in and clean up and get a sack on it. And we just didn't see that.
Amazing to think that you could almost fall into a sack at certain points, Mark. It's amazing that a team with that defensive prowess, or at least amongst a couple of players, could not manage a sack.
You would think that would be the case. And even when they run the same offense that the Giants run, the RPO offense, you would get some kind of pressures, some sacks. But, they threw the ball very effectively against that secondary too, with no pass rush and no sacks. Whenever the touchdown, and I know we're going to talk about it later, that long pass to Shaheed, I spit up my beer when I saw that. They were in a too high safety look, and Nubin, they faked this fake over route, and the quarterback sprinted to his left and threw back to his right. Nubin was about to chase this over route, which he has no business because another safety was over there. The receiver's running to the other safety. If he stays outside, that's an interception. But he jumps it and got beat on the outside route. But, and that right there tells me a lot. Now, I know we can dissect every position there. That person, that safety was very selfish not doing his job. Just do your damn job. That's a pick. And stuff like that makes for bad teams. And we can go back to the Charge again when they played great. And then they look like they just got off a high school field. It's embarrassing, but yeah, that's what I saw.
I can't tell if it's good or bad that we bring up Drew Phillips every week, because there's good plays and there's bad plays every week, and we like him.
But that's what I was saying. I love his play. It's in a feast or famine, right?
Totally.
You know, he's trying to make some plays. I get it. But that's the play. Let the play go to the other guy. You got to. But I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're apt, and that was the lead into the next point, is that Drew Phillips seems to be everywhere and nowhere, Patricia. It's an amazing ability to be in it and not in it at the same time almost every week.
I don't understand what happened. I mean, as a rookie, the kid looked good.
Yeah.
Kid showed promise, and he has regressed a little bit. I mean, you know, yeah, he leads the league, or was leading the league in pass breakups, but the penalties. What are they teaching these guys? And not just Drew Phillips, Deonte Banks. Hello, could you please turn around and look at what's going on in the backfield instead of having to drag guys down? I mean, how frustrating is that? What are they teaching it, or is it falling on deaf ears? What exactly is going on that Deonte Banks and Drew Phillips are committing these same mistakes over and over, basic fundamentals that maybe we weren't seeing earlier?
I think it ties back to Bowen too. Patricia, you were right on. This is a guy that needs to get things turned around quickly, Mark.
Yeah, and some of the things that I've seen, not just with the Giants, but throughout the NFL, these cornerbacks are not being taught to look back for the ball. And that starts in college. I've seen it when my son was getting recruited to go to college, and we're going to visit a recruiting trip, and I'm sitting with the corners coach. And I was asked, what kind of techniques do you teach about, to turn look for the ball? He goes, no, we don't teach that. We teach just big face shielding to stop the receiver from catching the ball. I'm going, no, you don't teach that. What you're teaching is you're trying to make the play, get a pick, a pass breakup. But in college, it's not a spot foul. It's a 15-yard penalty from when the ball snapped. So they're going. College coaches are thinking, well, if it's a deep ball, it's not a spot foul down there. It's a 15-yard penalty from when the ball was snapped. So in essence, hey, we'll give up 15 yards from there instead of a spot foul. But you're not teaching fundamentals. You're not teaching it. And that goes from college. Now you see it in the pros. And you've seen it with Banks. When he's with the receiver, he falls, he pulls the receiver down. Basically, if I can't catch the ball, you can't catch the ball. But that's a spot foul, and that's a penalty. And it's all throughout the whole league, and it's showing up, especially with the Giants now.
It's kind of funny. It's an amazing combination of no sacks and no secondary whatever. A good play if you want. That combination, they're lucky they didn't lose by 40 to the Saints, Patricia.
And I'll tell you what, I hate this rotation. Please put an end to it. Cordell Flott has been playing so well. Why isn't he out there more often? I mean, you put Banks out there on the field, you know what's coming. You're going to get man-to-man coverage. Offenses go after him. I mean, come on. If Flott is playing better, and if the coaches are saying, well, we make the decisions in the best interest of the organization, the best interest of the team, how is this in the best interest to have a rotation out there? Why? Because you have to decide whether you're going to pick up Banks's option year? Which, the decision should have been made already.
That's it. You win the prize. That's what it is. It's a money thing. It is. And the team they don't want to look all bad by him being a top pick. And they got to pick up, they want to get him out there to get exposure to trade him. I don't know. But it's a money situation. It's not about the ability, because we know Flott's playing very well, very consistent at least. Very consistent, and Banks isn't. So there should be no rotation, and we'll agree on that. But there is, and Patricia, I think you hit the nail around the head. It's about picking up his fifth-year option, and it's all about money.
There is no shortage, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's no shortage of high-end talent. The Giants have good players, and Mark, we discussed this last week. The problem is with the guys that aren't high-end talent. How bad are they that the good players can't keep this team afloat, Patricia. It's just, to me, it tells me all we need to know about the guys that we don't think are good.
You know, you're going to have your A-listers and you're going to have your B-listers, if you will. The B-listers are there to support the A-listers. I mean, it's kind of like a show. You have your stars and then you have your supporting cast. So there's really no reason why some of these supporting cast members, if you will, can't do a better job. I mean, they've got the talent, obviously, to be in the NFL, to be on a roster. And there's no reason why some of them can't become breakout stars in their own right. I mean, you know, you look at like a Puka Nacua, who was what, a 5th round pick, and he's a star out there. Started off as a supporting cast member, and now he's a star. So I just don't know if it's the talent, is it the development by the coaching staff? Is it a combination of the two? Is it the fit? I think it might be a combination of everything, to be honest with you.
Mark?
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't matter where you were drafted. It's what you do when you get there. And I've played with many guys in the league who were undrafted. Look at Everson Walls. And they become solid Hall of Fame type players. And it may be a mixture of both. It may be coaching, maybe defensive, offensive fit. And I could, maybe it's the player. So when they do all these combine tests and they test your speed and your jumping ability, sometimes they test the heart to see if these guys really want to play this game. Do they really love this game? Because I know if I were a 7th round, back in my day, if I were a 12th round pick or a free agent, my attitude was I'm going in, even a 2nd round pick. My attitude was I'm taking somebody's job. I belong here. And some guys, maybe they don't have the same mentality and they're just happy to be here. My thing was, I'm happy to be here, and damn it, I'm staying here. And number 3, which is number 1, I'm taking somebody's job. But that's my mentality. Maybe they don't have the mentality.
And just to add to that, Mark, I think the problem with a lot of today's NFL players, they're more concerned about their brand than they are about the game. I mean, yeah. I go back to 2007. I can remember talking with Brandon Jacobs and the guys on that team, and nobody was talking about their brand, their commercials. I mean, yeah, you had Eli Manning doing commercials, but he had earned the right at that point. And you see more and more guys that are supporting cast members worried about their brands, doing commercials and all this other stuff. And I get it. Look, the earning window is small, but, you know, why are you there to begin with, you know?
I also think that there's this, I don't know if it's a roller coaster. I don't know how you want to phrase it, Mark, but I will say this. We felt real good after the Chargers and said, you know what, maybe things are different. And then literally 2 days later, we're like, uh-oh, we're back to where we were pre-Chargers.
Yeah, that bubble did burst, didn't it? I'm telling you, it was but that's the league, I guess. I mean, we talked about this earlier, Jay. We're about 75% back to NFL equality. You know what I mean? You know, they want teams to be equal. No super teams anymore.
Right.
So we're about there. There are no blowouts, but you know, the way the teams played on the roller coaster. I mean, last week against the Chargers, I was going, man, maybe the Giants get 8-9 wins, maybe still 10. But after the Saints game, it was, man, they might get 4 or 5 wins if that. But that's where we're at right now. And you know, the league as a whole, you know, there are no super teams. I mean, everybody can be beat. And I'm not trying to compare the Giants to the Chiefs or, you know, anybody like that or the Buffalo Bills. But overall, you know, the team now, even as bad as they've played against the Saints, do they have a shot against the Eagles? I know we'll talk about this later. I got to say a slight shot, but it's a shot nonetheless.
Good enough. Good enough. I'll take it. All right. We'll take a break now and we'll do the Eagles next. Of course, they came off a loss at home on a short week. So we'll discuss that coming up next. All right, we'll discuss Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. with more IIHS top safety picks and awards than anyone else. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drive feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, we are back. Let's focus in on the Eagles now. Patricia, we'll start right there. 14-point fourth quarter lead at home to a team we're not totally sure about, and the Broncos do it, stun the Eagles. That's probably the last thing the Giants wanted to see, is the Eagles off a blown loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's never good to get an opponent come into your home stadium, especially one that has kind of owned you for the last few years, and now they're coming in angry. And then, on top of it, you've got old friend Saquon Barkley coming in. Now, Saquon Barkley ran wild against the Giants last year in the one game he played. He didn't play the second game because they sat all the starters down. But here's the other thing. Saquon Barkley has that big documentary that he did coming out Thursday night as well. So there's going to be a lot of buzz, a lot of focus on that. And the Eagles, I suspect that a lot of their fans will be in the stadium on Thursday night, especially as I see more and more Giant fans saying, hey, I've got 2 tickets available. I don't want them,
Yeah, 6 carries for Saquon last week and 3 catches. It's either 2 or 3 catches. Point is, he didn't have 10 touches the entire game. Something tells me, Mark, that's not going to be the case on Thursday.
You're right. They're gonna feed Saquon the ball every chance they get. They can do it. So, but hey, that's to be expected. Saquon's gonna come in. Of course, he's still got a chip on his shoulder, and the Eagles themselves, they're going to be mad after a loss at home against the Broncos, up 2 scores. So yeah, they have something to prove. Plus, they've been owning the Giants for the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. Yeah, we know what's going to happen. But the Giants got to rise to the occasion and try to do something to steal a win.
It seems like the combination of all the things we've been talking about, Patricia, and that's now coming in with an angry A.J. Brown, an angry Devontae Smith, which is a topic for another day. The fact that they're angry when they were winning is, again, a topic for another day. Point being, they are angry. Now they're coming in off a loss. We could see some big numbers there.
We could, but let's hope that the Giants are also angry over how they lost to the Saints. I mean, if they can't match that anger, that intensity, then you know what? Pack it up, boys. We're done.
Yep. Mark?
Yeah, that's exactly. I don't care how mad A.J. Brown and Hurt are, which is wild to me. I mean, it's the craziest thing. They won a Super Bowl last year, and they had an undefeated team until last week, and they're still bickering at each other. That's another show. But the Giants got to match that fury, that anger, and try to shut A.J. Brown up. I would like the Giants defensive backs to take the fight to A.J. Brown and other receivers as well, Smith as well. Take the fight to them. Make them bicker on the sideline. Make them fight each other. That's what you want. You want those guys to fight each other on the field, on the sideline, cause that animosity, and make those guys implode from within. Can that happen? Yeah, it can happen. You got to make it happen, though.
Very interesting stuff. Now, obviously, the fact that they have really good players but have struggled, again, scares me. And don't forget Dallas Goedert and obviously Saquon. Yeah. They have weapons, Patricia, that can end a game pretty quickly.
Sure they do. I mean, the Giants got to bring their A game. They got to bring it every week. You can't be making mistakes. The run defense, you talk about one of the bright things about last week's showing. The Giants held the Saints to 88 yards rushing. First time all year that the opponent was held to under 100 yards. So take that. Whatever you did against Alvin Kamara and Kendra Miller, 2 very good running backs, do it again against Saquon and company. At least get that give yourself a chance to where now maybe your pass rush might be able to get in there and somehow beat that really good Eagles offensive line.
Twice in 3 weeks. That's another topic that we need to get into, Mark. Obviously, that's unusual. It doesn't usually happen. But again, big picture, that's twice in 3 weeks. That seems weird.
It is weird, but that's what the league wanted, especially coming off a short week. The best thing, the best thing about the short week now for the Giants is you're playing a familiar opponent. So you know them and they know you as well. So that's the upside of it. The short week, it is what it is. And you have to deal with it. Eagles have to deal with it. And just got to go ahead and get it done.
Very interesting stuff. By the way, Eagles are now 16-4 versus the Giants from 15 through 25, or at least up till 25. So as you said, Patricia, the history here, at least of late, has not been kind to the Giants.
No, it hasn't. And you know what? The Giants can turn that history anytime they want. Now, the Eagles, they have a better roster. Let's be honest here. They've got a more complete roster. But the Giants can give themselves a chance if they play smart and they play consistently, right? Not consistently bad, consistent in doing the fundamentals and doing the little things that they haven't been doing to win the game. And, you mentioned the fact that they see the Eagles again in 2 weeks. Vince Lombardi, the great, head coach and one-time Giant, used to say, I'm going to do what I do until you figure out how to stop me. So this whole idea of, the Eagles will be familiar. They'll know what the Giants are going to do to them. If the Giants can get there and just kind of stop the Eagles and dominate them in certain areas, and I know that's a stretch, but, if they can somehow pull it off, now it's up to the Eagles to say, okay, you know what? They beat us in that. Let's see how we can figure out how to stop them.
All right, Mark, obviously that Denver loss was stunning. I don't think any of us expected it. Just their second loss in their last 22 games. So this is a team that's, one, as we said, pissed, and two, not used to losing. So this is going to be a difficult task. Yeah,
they're going to try to start another winning streak with the Giants. Of course, that's the goal. The Eagles, we all know this, have had a lot of success since Jalen Hurts gotten there. Went to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. So they're riding pretty high. So the Giants got to match their energy this Thursday. Have basically, at this point of the season, have nothing to lose. You're riding with a rookie quarterback. You're riding with a rookie running back to a point. Your receivers are decimated to a point. Your defense, feast or famine as well, on the back end especially, and on the front end. So what do you have to lose? Focus on what you do best on both. The Giants on offense, can you establish something, run the ball? You got the RPO quarterback. You have the quarterback you want who run the system better than the quarterback you had before. On defense, you got that on paper pass rush. Secondary, you got some players who can make a play or two. You got to go get it done. You have nothing to lose, so go for it.
Yeah, I think we're kind of stuck here in that we'd love to see Jackson Dart throw the ball more, especially down the field. But of course, they don't have any receivers anymore. So it's like it's kind of hard to put these pieces together, Patricia, and somehow figure out a way where they can win.
Somebody's got to step up. I mean, they have guys that play receiver, but somebody has got to elevate their game. And we haven't seen that. It's funny. We always hear coaches talk about next man up. And I make this point all the time. We're not talking about robots that are built according to identical specifications. We're talking about human beings. So what Malik Neighbors does really well, maybe Darius Slayton doesn't do as well. So you have to figure out now, okay, how do we compensate for that? And, the receiver's job at the end of the day is what? To catch the ball. Beat the guy in front of you, catch the ball. So step up. Don't be having drop passes. Don't be making, mistakes, having, offensive pass interference or illegal contact or whatever. step up. It's not that hard. Maybe I'm simplifying it, but at the end of the day, how bad do you really want it? If you want it, you're going to step up and you're going to say, okay, my brother Malik is down. I'm going to do this for him.
Mark, Patricia's totally right. It's right on the money. That being said, I mean, obviously you still have to play the games, and how much of an impact would the coach telling me those things have on a player when we're professionals? We know this,
Yeah, the coach shouldn't have to tell you, well, nothing. I don't know, and I guess I know a little bit more than I'm saying, but the makeup of today's football player isn't where it was in 2007, 2000, in the 90s, and definitely not the 80s, where we wanted that smoke. We wanted that challenge. I wanted that challenge. These players now, most of them, not all of them, I would say most of them, they don't want that smoke. They don't want that challenge. I would be remiss if I didn't say they're just happy to be here. So, and I'm not trying to put word in these guys' mouths, but you got to want it. A coach shouldn't have to tell me nothing. Yeah, okay, you're starting. It's your job. Let's go. I'm going, okay, cool, let's go. And some other players will go, same thing. I don't see that on the roster, that the players on the Giants roster right now. I don't know if those receivers are going, okay, cool, yeah, I'm ready to go. They might be going, oh man, I hope I don't make a mistake. Maybe, they're doubting themselves. So maybe that's some of these guys on this roster, and I know it's some of the guys in the league because I've seen it. I talked to some of them. And these guys are worried about their brand and not embarrassing themselves or whatever. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe the brand would be better off with some wins, Patricia. I mean, obviously, that's how a brand gets built, is with wins. And the Giants have not been able to do that as of yet.
Yeah, absolutely. But yet, a guy has a good game or something like that, and all of a sudden he becomes a global superstar because he's got a hotshot agent. And, I don't mean to pick on Tommy DeVito, but that's a perfect example. He's a backup quarterback. He goes out, he wins a couple of games, including an upset victory over Green Bay. And now all of a sudden he's in commercials, he's doing internet ads. It's like, what are we doing here? And I'm not saying Tommy DeVito doesn't work at the game and at his craft, but it just seems like everybody wants to attach themselves to whatever is hot at that particular moment. And sometimes I suspect it gets lost in the shuffle because, your brand is you're a football player. That's how you're making the bulk of your living. And again, I understand it's a short window. You're not going to earn millions for the rest of your life, and you want to build up an equity. But while you have this opportunity with some wins and some strong performances, maybe now you can have a career, a post-career like an Eli Manning who is into everything, or a Sean O'Hara who's into everything, or some of these other guys who maybe, you wouldn't have thought would be global superstars, if you will, in the post-football life.
Interesting stuff. All right, we'll get into what Vegas thinks after our final break of the show, and obviously we'll tell you exactly what's going to happen on Thursday. All right. And now we are back. Let's do it. The Vegas line, 7.5 at this point in time. It has stayed pretty close to the 7.5 number since Sunday. 41.5 is your total. Again, Vegas thinks the Giants are not within a touchdown here. Mark, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the Giants attempting to keep this close?
I think the Giants will keep it close because, these games, when divisional games, they always play closer than you think because they know each other. They know all the plays, all the checks, and all this other stuff. What I think the Giants will do is probably try to take the air out of the ball, run the ball, let the clock run, that kind of stuff. Will they be some flea flickers? Maybe. I didn't expect to see that against the Saints, but they did it. But when you have nothing to lose, that stuff comes out. So, yeah, they're going to try to run the ball, take the air out of the ball, run the ball, and let the clock run. Try to put some pressure on the Eagles to make mistakes, which the Eagles don't do very often on offense. So we'll see what happens. But 7 points, I'm not a prognosticator like that, but I don't know. The Giants could keep it close by maybe 7. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, Patricia, your thoughts?
I think Mark's being a little too optimistic. I love it. I love it. I hope you're right. I really do. But, look, the Eagles, they always seem to run over the Giants, and eventually it's going to flip. Eventually. But the Giants are going into this game without their best receiver. They're going into this game with some question marks on the defense, especially on the back end. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep it close. And look, my listeners know that I'm probably one of the most optimistic people when it comes to the Giants, sometimes to a fault. But I hope I'm wrong here, but I just don't see, given what the Giants have to work with, them keeping it as close. I think it could potentially be a 2-score game minimum for the Eagles.
What's interesting is we used to liken it to the Knicks and the Bulls back in the day, where with Michael Jordan on the Bulls, the Knicks, their objective was to keep it close, give yourself a shot in the fourth quarter within a couple of possessions, either way. It kind of feels like the same type of analogy. Keep it close, give yourself a chance, only down a score or up a score, either way, in the fourth quarter, and maybe things work your way.
Well, that's all you can ask for, especially the Giants. That's all you have. That's all you have. The top receiver's out. The back end is not that great. You got the best pass rushing foursome on paper, and you won one game so far. So, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Just go out there and see what happens.
Yeah, Patricia, obviously, as we said, we expect that the Giants probably won't win the game. But that being said, we did not expect them, or at least I didn't. I'll speak for myself. I didn't expect them to beat the Chargers, and I did expect them to beat the Saints. So point is, who knows what the hell happens?
Yeah, exactly. That's why you line up and you play the game. You never know. You never know. I mean, we can sit here and we can analyze and break things down and predict how things are going to go. But you saw, did anybody have 5 turnovers on their bingo card last week?
Consecutively?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, obviously, I think we all expect them to have fewer than 5 this week, but 2 or 3 can do damage as well, Mark, so they need to get things cleaned up.
Yeah, so what do? You clean it up. The fumble that Scatterboo had, ran into his own guy. Ball comes out. That can be fixed. The drop by Slayton, can that be fixed? Yeah. So, just catch the ball, secure the ball, and good things usually happen if you could do that. Will it happen against the Eagles? We'll see what happens. I still tend to think that the Giants won't get blown out. At least I'm hoping they'll get blown out. So we'll see what happens.
I was looking to see, I wasn't sure who the Eagles played after this week. They play Minnesota, I believe. So it's not exactly a trap game. But again, it changes things knowing you see them again in 2 weeks, Patricia. This is, this is uncharted territories. It's weird.
It's not something you see often. It has happened before. It's not, but again, I go back to my point of, if you do the things right, then it's on the onus is on the opponent to figure out how to stop you. If you're going to be sloppy and you're going to be inconsistent and make mistakes, then you know what? You're stopping yourself at the end of the day.
Mark, go ahead.
When I played on defense, we ran basically 2 coverages. It was either man coverage or it was predominantly cover 2, where the corners were physical on the receivers. Every team knew what we were running. And this goes to what Patricia was saying earlier. you know what we're going to do. On offense, you knew what we were going to do. We're going to run the ball. It's up to you to stop us. It's up to you to beat us on our defense. And we're very good at what we did. We won championships with it. The Giants got to do the same thing. You know, and you know what the Eagles are going to do. They're going to feed the ball to Saquon. Giants defense got to stop them. There's no trick plays. There's no razzle-dazzle stuff. Line up, play. Mariano Rivera, I'm a better pitcher than you're better. I'm going with my best. It's up to you to stop it. Or you. So
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, we got a basketball, we got a baseball, we got a football, we got it all. Patricia, obviously, the Jackson Dart situation is interesting in that he's the quarterback moving forward. We know that, and probably will be for a while. But as we said earlier, the passing game hasn't been great, and obviously that's something that needs to get going. How important is it to throw the ball downfield for Jackson Dart, for the Giants to sort of loosen things up, especially for the running game?
Oh, it's very important. You have to have a balanced offense. And, you know, you look at Brian Dable's offense historically, more times than not, he gives up on the run, even if it's still close, and he goes for the pass. You know, and I get it. It's a pass-happy league. But, you know, I remember the good old days of Bill Parcells and how they ran balanced offenses. And even Tom Coughlin ran balanced offenses for a while. That's how you win games, because when you become one-dimensional, you become easier to defend and easier to beat. So, yeah, throw the ball down the field, take select shots, but you also have to run the ball. You have to hit some of these underneath passes. You know, you can't become a one-trick pony, because we saw that, you know, years ago with Odell. Remember, it was all Odell. Everybody knew the ball was going to Odell. Well, you can't do that, because teams will hone in on Odell and take him out of the game. And then what? So you've got to spread that ball around. And, you know, I will say this, the Giants have done a pretty good job at spreading the ball around, but they've got to make plays when they do get the ball.
Yeah, I think we discussed that early. It's execution. It's about making plays. It's about playmakers making plays, and it's something they really haven't done, Mark.
Yeah, they haven't. But over the last couple of weeks, since Dart has been in, that RPO, that quarterback option, him running the ball, has been the spark that the team needed offensively. He gives that offense a chance to, number one, run the ball with Scotty or any other running back, and Dart can keep the ball and run himself, and he can pass it. But with the passing option that Dart is giving them, when the run option, the receivers got to catch the ball. They have to. So the onus is on the receivers to finish making the play when the ball's thrown to them.
All right, so Joe Flacco just got traded to the Bengals, and according to a report, the Bengals never called the Giants about either Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. Very interesting why you'd want Flacco over those two guys. I wouldn't, but, you know, I'm not a GM. Patricia, your thoughts on that weird trade?
That's the first I'm hearing of it. That is kind of weird, but it also maybe suggests that teams around the league don't think Russell Wilson has it anymore as a starter. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I'm kind of disappointed. I had hoped that maybe the Giants would be able to swing a trade for Russell Wilson. Maybe they still might, but that's a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah,
but I guess at the same time, isn't Joe Burrow expected back in December?
Yeah, I think it was a 3-month injury, was it not? Okay, so yeah,
so maybe that had something to do with it.
Interesting times though, because it seemed like, at least according to this report, that they never even considered Jameis or Russell.
Well, maybe they know something that we don't. Obviously, I think both of the guys are good locker room guys. That's probably just about it. I think Jameis has more upside than Russell, but they both are good locker room guys. And nobody, I guess the other team didn't want a good locker room. Well, Jordan Flacco's a good locker room guy too, and he's a good player. So let me put that out there. But it is what it is, and what's done is done. And the two older quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, are still on the Giants.
Yeah, Honestly, neither is great, but to me, gun to my head, I think Russell Wilson is better than Joe Flacco now for what that's worth, which is nothing. But anyways, again, let's go big picture here. Quick turnaround. Obviously coming off the loss for the Eagles and the Giants. Mark, explain to me, diagnose to me how the Giants can pull off this win.
They can pull off this win if they play mistake-free football. Back to fundamentals, basic coverages, basic pass rush from games up front. On offense, run the ball effectively. You're going to have to take the air out of the ball a little bit, and you're going to have to take some shots. You're going to have to because you don't want the Eagles to line up on defense, just smother you. So that's it. That's the only shot they got. Mistake-free, take some shots, and that's it.
Final word to you, Patricia. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I agree with what Mark said. Mistake-free football. The Giants have proven over and over they are not good enough to overcome their own mistakes, right? You can't be turning over the ball. You can't be having critical pass defense, pass interference, penalties. Just the little things, they add up, and the Giants need to cut back on them. They need to play a disciplined brand of football, and we haven't really seen that on a consistent basis.
Well, it's sad because I would love to tell you how confident I am in thinking the Giants are going to win. Unfortunately, Mark, that's not the case. I don't feel that way, but to be fair, I didn't feel that way about the Chargers either, so you never know.
You never know. You never know. That's the greatest thing about this game. You got to play it, and the chip's going to fall where they may. And usually, the best team wins. But every now and then, there's an upset.
All right, terrific stuff from Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. This is the New York Giants Squad Show, and that's a wrap on this preview for Week 6. Of course, the game is Thursday night. We'll be with you immediately following that game as well. Have a great week, everyone.